Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today's video, we have got a lot of information coming out of the Titan Talk from December 4th. Without further ado, we're jumping right in because there's a lot of things to talk about. Now, starting out with 3 new characters. They're showing all the kits. A little bit of an oof. Unfortunately, playing on the demo, Hi-Rez has opened up all the gods that are on their internal system. And they have leaked Aladdin and they have leaked Barry. Don't have any information on Barry. I looked her up, and that's all I know. She's the Korean god of war. She is the Korean god of war. That's all I know. I didn't read any of her lore. I just know she's the Korean god of lore. And then Aladdin. So one of these two is going to be the surprise god in January, but those are something exciting to look forward to. On top of Aphrodite, Medusa, and Pele's kit.
All right, so let's just look at the kit a little bit first. We've got our kit.
This stays pretty much the same. You see the passive down here.
Our lovebirds and our ultimate.
Now, so it looks pretty normal.
Pretty similar.
There's a lot of things that are not
in
normal.
The little locket right here.
Right?
There's a lot of new stuff with Aphrodite, and Aphrodite was one of those characters.
Maybe that's just saying who our soulmate is.
I worked on in this set have a lot of hidden tech, which we ported. But the new features for Aphrodite. So just to cover quick generals, she is still intelligence scaling only. There is no strength scaling on Aphrodite, and she deals magic damage only, obviously.
Okay.
So some of her new changes and new features. Her passive
cooldown scaling
reworked. So instead of seeing a whole bunch of hearts, which you can't really tell exactly how many you have there. You'd have to count them in real time, which can be a challenge. Instead, you get this counter that tells you exactly how many.
That is a big distance
to the other 9 that could be in the game, maxing out. I spawned her a little too close to the base.
Back off, kick her away.
That's new. And you also, when you have a link target, you'll see their avatar here in your little locket. Like that's
nice.
your that's your one and only, your soulmate, right in your little locket.
It's so like I'm in high school.
Yeah, and then whatever god you're linked to, you'll see their face there. Kiss has a couple unique features. So one of which, Kiss, this ability has so much going on under the hood, honestly, because it's got multiple different aversions depending on if you fire it at a target.
Surely that didn't break on the wall, right?
Ally, when you're aiming like this, it'll be a homing effect. Whereas if you just fire it in open space, it's a projectile effect, and it does very different things. One of the new things in Smite 2 is that you can actually stun and link at the same time.
Ooh, very nice.
Previously, you would have to choose in between homing and locking onto someone, or you could have enemies body block.
Right.
So there's a lot of really specific rules. So the easiest way to phrase this is if you are locked on to an ally and an enemy walks in the way, we'll hit both.
Nice. What if my allies just keep juking my kisses?
Well, it's homing. So if you've got the targeter over their head, right, this person is not going to be a valid targeter because they're already kissed, right? So you pass through them. They can't body block you. But if you break the link and you see that kiss targeter, you know it's going to be homing. So it's
going to hit as long as they have the kiss over their head.
As long as you
got dizzy.
I'll test this. Let's see if it works because it's broken a few times. So as long as I kick this and aim different way, it always goes to them.
Cool.
So it can go through enemies. It can't go through allies
before the pre-fire even starts. At the earliest possible time when you've input the button.
Unless you're already kissed them.
If you've got the targeter there, it should. It'll also do it if you adjust during the pre-fire as well. Okay. Into an ally space.
Wow.
So it's trying as much as it possibly can to hit
barely a skill shot anymore.
That you don't, if you don't have them linked. If they are linked already, they're ignored.
Okay.
So I'm getting into some of the depth of this ability that's not just new features. A lot of this is brought from Smite 1. Right. No, Smite 1 has a lot of complicated tech here as well.
And I think it's interesting just to talk through it all, right? Because like there's so much intricacies to all these gods.
The main change here was that ability to link and stun at the same time. If you do that, you do get the long cooldown though. Otherwise you could pretty much stun lock someone. So long cooldown. The other new feature of the kiss that's a pretty much specific new feature is if you stay linked for a significant amount of time, and then you need another ally, and then you switch targets, they both get jealous.
Okay.
So a little bit of the design of the plus ones for Afro are to encourage not just pocket healing for one person the whole game.
That's broken.
This is the one feature where you can make more jealous if you are switching targets, but if you just rapid switch, it doesn't do it. You have to actually stay linked for, I think it's 4 or 5 seconds.
Right. And for people that don't know what jealousy does,
that is broken.
What is jealousy?
It is a percent damage output multiplier. It is very strong.
Yes.
Effectively a super strength and int buff.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Right. It is very good. So putting
Chat
jealousy.
says Susanoo players in shambles.
I know.
You have to kiss both people now.
I specifically made that comment to give them a hard time on those Susanoo Afro players. So those are the 2 official +1s with the kiss. We can look at more of the detailed targeting rules later if we want to. So a new feature on the AO2, the back off. So previously, back off it always fires on you and your ally. In Smite 1, back off will only hit only one back off area would hit. So if we're both standing on this enemy Afro, it would just hit them one time. But in Smite 2, we're actually going to give you a little bit of additional bonus damage for hitting
Looks like
both
what,
areas.
20%?
There was, and this was one thing that we would see people do all the time. They would just assume, hey,
25%?
the Venn diagram overlaps. If I hit that sweet spot, I should get some. No,
I mean, I guess if you think about it,
none.
On like a full
It
damage
just
Aphrodite,
would only hit one. As
like
a
125% damage.
Double would be way too strong.
Right.
But in this case, actually, I don't have to worry about her because I can just push her back to where I want to have her.
Wait, she has a thing on her.
Now you get a little bit of bonus damage if you actually group up with your soulmate and hit them with the double back. Outside of that, the ability does all the same effects. It has a knockback on Aphrodite and a slow. It is just damage on the enemy. There's a slightly different damage and base damage and scaling tunings for the 2 different things, which is also
Thanks for the follow.
Not really too much else on that ability. I know sometimes I tend to go too long and chat gets mad at me, so I'm going to try and keep moving.
Good.
AO3 doesn't really have any super different +1. It does have one exciting slight new feature, which is it has intelligence scaling has returned to the heal.
Good.
The healing element for both herself
This is good.
and allies
Lower
now
the
scale
base
off
a
of
little bit.
intelligence. So you can build
Scale
high
the
int
intelligence
to deal high damage and have high healing.
So is the thought more that Afro is primarily a mid laner, solo laner? Like, where do we see her? Because I know she was kind of more of a support later on.
Say mid laner. Say mid laner.
She's always been very flexible and can be good in a lot of places. I think we still are thinking of her as mid or support.
Okay.
So
fine enough. I'll take it.
Probably increases the base numbers on the heal because there was a per level scaling. That's been removed.
Good.
So you can build Tank Afro. We've been testing Tank Afro, and even with the int scaling on the heal, Tank Afro feels really good because Tank Afro does have lots of utility that can be really useful, and have on low cooldown.
Too much.
And also, she transfers a significant portion of her protections to an ally. So even without any new Smite 2 tank scalings, she still has a strong, compelling reason to be Tank Afro. So then we were also looking to make int Afro better. The per level
smart. No, it's good.
Healing from Smite 1 heal just felt really weak.
So that makes sense. So basically, like, if you're support Afro, not building a lot of int, you're going to be providing a lot of protections. And if you're int Afro, you're going to be providing a lot more healing and damage.
And you also don't need to be like full tank to be a support Afro. There's probably a lot of room to explore in between
a lot of
with
cool
active
actives
items,
with Afro too.
Some int to boost your healing a bit, and certain types of effects that can proc. You can.
She's 100% a Chronos Pendant God.
Really, just a scaling change outside of that.
Focus maybe
and
too.
then that's it, right? That's everything that we did to no.
No. Oh yeah, I'm gonna call out when we had been on the show a few weeks ago. He did say that the birds got some love. On the visual side.
Yeah,
the birds in Smite 1 were really just like literal flip books. So you just see like a frame of a wing going up and down.
Like
so they look more realistic now. Yeah, UE5 has a lot more. Also, I will note that we did tune the int scaling for healing an ally is lower than self. So it gets a little bit weaker if you build full int to just you can't spam heal an ally back up to full health, but Aphrodite can actually affect her own healing a little more. It's 5 per tick versus 10 per tick. Okay, the ultimate. So this is where the biggest +1 is. If you press 4, you'll also see that at the bottom there's a little refire timer window down there, which is like not usually there. So if you press 4 again, while in your ultimate, you can fly to your ally. And that is a untargetable leap that goes through walls.
Nice.
So you can now emergency airdrop onto your ally, get right up to them to fight alongside with
Tank Afro, that's fine, but that's really good for damage
there's a lot
Afro.
of discussion about why not letting us pull players back to Afro, and there's a lot of reasons why that's not very fun and much harder to implement and can cause a lot more problems. So we did think about that, but that was not really the plan. So this is the new +1. You can wait till the very end of that moment and you can fly to your
guys. That actually gets me excited to play Afro. I mean, overall Afro looks awesome. I thought her changes were pretty mediocre, but that ultimate change is really cool. Like, that's a +1 where it's not like a Cupid +1. It's just like something that Afro can use now, where, I mean, maybe yes, her support build will be a little bit better because she can you know, face check and then she could double ult and get out. But I think that's really good for like support Afro, where you could like dive with your teammate, or if they're trying to get out, you can also try to get out with them. I think that is a cool playmaking option. I also like that they removed the per level heal, gave it intelligence healing instead. I still want them to kick down that protection buff to your soulmate a little bit. I think it's just a little too strong, but I mean, overall, Afro looks awesome. Pele next up.
She looks great, by the way.
Really good.
Yeah, she looks really good.
No real changes to the design, but just general Smite 2 touch-ups on materials, lighting, detail. So I'll just demo the kit again real quick, just to get started. So we've got
that looks
one,
sick.
2.
Oh.
We've got our 3 and our amped 3.
I love the little fire on the amp tree.
And of course we have our alt.
Oh, dude, she looks so sick.
I love the effects.
Dude, that looks like skin cool.
Your kit. For,
like when they make a skin update and it looks super cool.
General, she is a strength scaling only, no intelligence scaling on her. There was a little bit of a debate about that it maybe could make sense with some of the fiery stuff, but like she's already kind of a burst ability assassin anyway, or lifesteal assassin. So it's like giving her int wouldn't really introduce anything new or change any of that. Certainly something we could consider in the future.
I mean, you could put like int on her 1, make her a pull character.
Only physical damage. Her pyroclast has a small +1 on it with some of the details of the range and the deployables. In Smite 1, there's a pretty significant forward offset of those return projectiles. And if you hit someone at max range, like this Aphrodite in Smite 1, they're not going to get hit by those extra projectiles because they're kind of set back towards Pele.
Yeah, that's a nice little +1.
What we've done is made sure that hit area overlaps. So if you like stun someone and hit them with max range pyroclast, you're going to get those bonus attacks. And it also felt weird for opponents to be standing in the pyroclast and not being hit by anything. That makes sense. So even though the projectile looks like it's coming out a little forward, we did make sure that hit area overlapped. The AO2 and the AO3 have the real +1, and it's a bit of a combo effect. So you know, here's your AO2.
It looks so clean.
It does the usual, both the AO1 and AO2 do the usual thing. They ramp up in rank. They shoot more projectiles in the AO1 over rank, and this one adds the circles over rank. But if you're in the amped state of the 1, your 2 is now set forward, and you get a little dash forward before. It's a dash, so it looks. We kept the animation the same, but it actually gets you a little bit of extra range. So when you're really trying to chase someone down, you can go boom, fire, and get a little bit extra forward.
Bro, it's
whereas
not
if you're just
that
doing
insane.
the regular one,
Pele doesn't have much of an issue running you down.
It was like really OP. Getting just a little bit of extra distance makes a big deal there. So that's her main +1.
To be fair, I don't think Pele needed much.
Can you do it while not moving, just so we can see?
See how that's offset forward about that far?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so when you don't have it triggered, you can just see it. The circle is centered on Pele. Whereas if I stem all the way up, you can see it's centered about. I forget the exact range number. Maybe a 30% basic attack range or something like that. 25% forward.
I mean, it's interesting.
The other small +1 is the AO3. This ability in Smite 1 used to just have a seemingly intentional delay. When you would press 3, there would be a noticeable pause before the Magma Rush circle would open up and the buff be applied. Possibly that was because of abuse cases with like spamming or canceling or anything like that, but it just felt weird to have this like delay. And she doesn't have any pre-fire animation either, so you're just running and you press the button and it's like, duh. Then it grows. So that delay felt awkward. So we went ahead and sped this up as quick as possible. So this starts applying. You get the movement speed, frame 1 of pressing this button.
It looks a lot cleaner now.
Frame 1 of pressing this button. And then we did some extra stuff in the blueprint to prevent you from spam canceling or resetting your in-hand chain or any cheaty stuff like that. Shake and baking, none of that. At least, hey, when you're out there in the splash test, let me know if you find anything.
Try to break it, is what he's saying.
To speed this up in a way that felt a lot more responsive, and then we went and implemented some different code-based checks to prevent any of the abuse cases that possibly justified why it was the same way in Smite 1, why it had that delay. But as far as I can tell in the ambassador test and internal test, nobody misses that delay. It feels better without it. So If there was another reason for it,
no change to the ult then?
Most of them, but if there is any more, hopefully we'll find out. And she also benefited a lot, I think, from the material update and the lighting update. Like
yeah, her scales look sick. Her scales and then her the snakes on her head look really cool.
So, general, Medusa is the new hybrid scaling character of the update. She now has intelligence scaling on a lot of her damaging abilities.
Okay.
At different amounts. So you can kind of play more of a mid lane int ability burst.
Scales off of int
Medusa
on her kit.
if you want. Which we thought was cool, and has had some mid lane Medusa has been a thing.
Oh yeah,
I like
so
the hybrid
make sure.
gods.
And that is a pretty distinctly
Kind of
different
just wish
playstyle
that
from carry.
every
versus
god kind of had
hunters.
some
So we
semblance of
kind
hybrid.
did group her into that ability hunter, ability carry option, so you can actually build int on that. I won't go into all the
Chat
numbers here.
says she looks extra long. We didn't change how long her tail is, did we?
Yes, it's Smite 2, so she's 2 times longer. No, I don't think so. Some of the animation might have been adjusted a little bit, and some of these strafing patterns might be something we still want to give feedback
Her tail
on.
just looks like it's
Like, Tech Art can
extended
still
more.
control
Like in
some of
Smite
these
1, it
things,
felt like it was not. It was like a lot
I
more
could imagine
clumped
her tail
together.
could curl up. There's a part where it swings to the side and stays really long. Maybe it should curl up a little bit more there. These should be using the same animations for the most part.
Okay.
Lermy would know more, but
No, I just thought it was
note.
funny. The chat's like everybody's like convinced that it's a longer tail. I
After-
think it's the same length.
Gameplay effects. Ability 1, Viper Shot. Successfully hitting Viper shots on enemies will now reduce the cooldown of this ability per shot. And
It
the
better be
attack speed stim
0.5.
scales with strength
Nice.
as well. So I guess like if you really want to go carry Medusa, you got to go strength. That's maybe a little bit of separating
cool.
the
No, I
ability
like that.
build
I like
for
that.
ability damage and the carry. So if you actually build higher strength, you
It's
also
getting like
get a better
80% attack speed with
stim,
intelligence.
on this. And for every successful hit on that, I have cooldown cheats on, so we're not going to be able to see it. It's a 0.5 second reduction. So that's a 2 seconds if you hit all 4 shots, which is nothing, you know. So I forgot to just fire the kit in general. So
Wait, the entire 2 knocks back now.
Acid spray.
I swear that wasn't a
dash,
thing.
Lacerate, and our ultimate. So the other new feature is the AO4, and this has got a couple things involved in it. And geez,
Wait,
let's
is
see
that
if I might have to do some
He skipped to the 4 already, so the 2 and the 3 are the same.
cheats to get it to trigger. So Medusa now makes statues if an enemy dies while slowed while this ability. In addition to the existing conditions in Smite 1. So you have a slightly better chance of making statues. Essentially, while the target is afflicted by the slow, we're turning them to stone already. Or that guy was stunned. I think even if I hit him from the back.
Oh, hitting it from the back.
They're going to be slowed. And if they die during that, even if they weren't stunned, you're still going to get a statue. So you have a better chance to get a statue than you would in Smite 1. Why? Why might we want that, you say? Well, that's because the statues are going to have some new effects. So I'm just going to test by killing this Afro in this way. I think killing would any.
There we go.
So now you have an Afro statue.
Okay.
So whenever a statue is destroyed by anyone, Medusa gains a temporary strength and int buff and a small permanent stacking strength and int buff. So actually you want to farm statues throughout the game.
Yeah.
And you also want to potentially tactically break them because you'll get so if you're fighting right here around a team fight with an enemy and they break the statue just because they want to or whatever, it's actually going to buff Medusa briefly. Yeah. And then you might want to break it on your own to trigger
What's the
that
damage?
or to trigger if you're like, oh, the fight's leaving this area, it might break the statue to get that permanent stack for the future. And also
5.
her ability 3
5
can break the statues, and when a statue breaks, whether it was from the 3 or not, for any condition, it takes 5 seconds off the cooldown of her dash.
No way.
I guess like now ability is going on cooldown. If I dash, it's a 14-second cooldown. So we're just going to sit here for 14
Wait
seconds.
it out for a little bit.
I'm really curious how much damage she has too.
The
but you can't,
thing was,
you
so
see right
people
here,
would
10
generally
zero
destroy all
strength.
the statues anyway because they could. So your opponent's not just going to let you keep around this like homage to their failure. So they're going to break it real fast.
Yeah,
but
I
now
see someone
Medusa
in
gets.
chat saying their art gallery is going to get griefed, and that's the point. Medusa's going to get angry when the statue is destroyed.
So let's see. So I was a 14 seconds, so I'm going to dash through it. Okay, that didn't work.
Might be a dev thing.
I might have done something wrong. I might have done something different. Dashing. So if Lermy's watching, you might want to put that on the notes because I might have done it incorrectly. We can also test it though. We can test the cooldown reduction, which is the dash, and then if we break the statue, Boom. We get
Oh,
a
if they
big
die no
jump
matter
from 11
what.
to 6 seconds.
6 strength.
Good to know. I fix it. Chat,
Curious
don't
how
worry.
much
She's
intelligence
here.
it is.
I know this was something that was still being adjusted. The collision rules on the statues was a more complicated feature than you might expect, as is
Cool.
true often in game design. But
Oh,
this
no, sorry, it's
allows
only
you to get
5.
a simulated sort of double dash feel. If you
Yeah.
you can aggressively dash
Is it like a
through your own
20% strength
statue,
buff?
trigger the buff, the permanent and the temporary buff, fire some shots, and then your dash cooldown is up again. So it gives her a sort of rare chance for this super high impact play.
I love that. I love that.
Only if you've killed a god there
Right,
before
yeah.
and then come back and fight there, you can do some cool stuff with it. So that is Medusa.
I mean, I guess I didn't talk about Pele and Medusa after each of their specific things, but Pele's cool. I don't think she gets a ton of changes, but I don't think she really needs too many, to be fair. Medusa does get a couple changes. She is very cool to me. I'm excited to see her numbers, the strength and intelligence scaling. What did they choose for strength? What did they choose for intelligence? I'm glad that they're doing something with the statues. I thought the statues were such an underwhelming thing in Smite 1, and now they're awesome in Smite 2. I like the cooldown reset for a character that's playing aggressive, especially because it's not on like her 1. Well, she doesn't have it in her 1 also, but that's still for being aggressive. Like hitting an enemy god gives you reduced cooldowns for your 1. Dashing in or dashing away, so using your dash is always going to be an aggressive thing. You can get your cooldown back up. So, I mean, overall, love these 3 characters. Excited to try them all, even Aphrodite. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what you guys also think about Bari, Barry, and Aladdin being the 2 newest gods. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have watched today. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.